So I have a very special friend on the PranaTech podcast today. Her name is Lisa. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but I'm going to try Vodankova. I like pronouncing people's name right because people butcher my name. And I had a gym teacher in high school who used to call me a meat all the time. That's my first name. It's a very simple name. It's called a mitt. Baseball mitt. Baseball AMIT, a mitt. That's it, right? That's my first name. My last name, I won't go there. Lisa, teach us about your last name, where you're from, and what you're doing, please.
Well, I'm from Ukraine, so I'm not even Lisa. My real full name is Yelizaveta, which is like extremely hard to spell. So it's always like, this issue when people open my passport and they're trying to understand like what is your real name, because we typically go with Lisa for friends and family, but Yelizaveta is like a full name um, that we use like in any official sources. But yeah, I'm Ukrainian, obviously. So my second name is Valenkova.
Tarankova. Okay, awesome. That's great. So, tell us about your story. So, you're doing some very phenomenal stuff in the medtech industry. You're really focused on like hardware, conceptual design, so actually reality of those designs, right? And that's very powerful to me because what I do, as you know, is like on the consultancy side, where I actually help develop regulatory strategies. But you build products for people with prototypes, right? You actually bring that reality that they think from point A to the reality of point Z. So how does that actually happen from your opinion?
Oh, that's something I love about my work because I don't know what can be compared to this feeling. Maybe I don't know, just having a baby when first time hear from some idea and then you can touch it in, let's say, half a year or in 1 year, so you feel that you've done something, you contributed to bring something new to the world. It's amazing. So yeah, I run company, it's called Sova Solutions, and we have other companies to develop medical devices, basically anything from idea to production. So if our client wants to create or improve a medical device, we can handle the entire process. We can handle everything hardware related. So like design, engineering, we can do prototyping, we can get it ready to produce. So design for manufacturing. And my team located in Ukraine, in Dnipro, and we are making sure that device actually works properly, meets all the regulations, and it's cost effective to produce. So basically, like instead of hiring an in-house team, client can rely on our resources to speed up the development because we've done so many medical devices by now that we're pretty much aware of all the, you know, mistakes that can be done on the way, so we can speed up the process in general.
Yeah, yeah. So you accelerate the timelines, right? But how like these people that come to you, these clients or customers, whatever you want to call them, like how much do they know about design controls and the risk management? How do you kind of embed yourself in those values to actually bring that reality to commercialization? Like how important is those like fundamentals from your opinion?
Um, I think that's like one of the most challenging parts of designing a medical device because I've seen examples in the industry when someone designed already, like shapes for mass manufacturing, and then they figured out that it's not compliant with all the regulations, so they have to redesign everything, and then they waste so much time and money in doing that. So for this purpose, we usually start with short conversation with someone who knows how FDA works, how to get um, approved, how to see the markets, because I assume now we're talking about the projects that go to US market, right? And then once we chose the regulatory pathway, we can understand how to work on the design and how to develop a product.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. I do that as well. I know the pre-submission. I've said this I don't know countless amount of times. Yeah, I'll repeat myself because I love the process. It's a free process, and you get to really understand how the FDA thinks. You get to understand how what their thought processes are. But it's more of an art than a science, right? So if I come to you with some interesting idea or some concept, what is the first steps you take with the client? I mean, how do you kind of onboard them saying, well, look, I don't think you're right for us, but I do think you're right for us. What is the go or no go kind of situation for you in actually accepting someone to go to the next phase of what you do as a business?
I have to say that like let's let's cut it off later, but it's a little bit noisy on your background. Someone was talking or something. Let's repeat the question because I think the
Yeah,
sound was
yeah.
not
Sure, sure,
great.
sure. Yeah, yeah. No, I was gonna say that. Let me repeat. I'll cut this out as well. But in your sense, right, you have these clients that come to you. They have this really cool idea, and I come to you and I say, "Hey, Lisa, well, I have this interesting concept, interesting ideology, whatever it may be." But it's very simple. But what is the point of coming to you? Like, why should I come to you, or should I work on it? When do I come to Lisa to actually make this a viable solution?
You can come from me. You can come to us from an idea stage, which is like also very common among our clients, because by now we've done so many medical devices that we know the pathway, and we know, as I mentioned, all the mistakes that can be done. So you can do all the same without us. You can hire external engineers. It's just probably you will take way long.
I'm
It
sorry.
is probably you would take
No, it's okay. Keep going. Keep going. It's not a big deal.
it is probably you would take way longer to bring this product to market because we already know all the processes and which processes can be paralleled. So, for example, as I mentioned to you, we start with talking to FDA experts. We can do documentations during the development process, and it would like speed it up because you probably know that according to FDA, like the average time to bring medical device to market is 7 years. So it's almost half a life, honestly, right? And like
Yeah.
average time, it means it can be longer than 7 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is like we're trying to bring a medical device from idea to market in 2 years as soon as it's like physically possible. And I see that especially first time founders in medtech space, they are making so many mistakes while developing medical devices. So they are like trying to skip user validation. They are like trying to focus on design too much, but not aligning engineering parts and regulatory teams. Because this is something that should have been done from day one. Because then, when you already have a design and then you try to retrofit for FDA, is literally it's a nightmare. You know this, right? So like
Yeah. Yeah.
cannot just simply, let's say, change the type of plastic because it might not fit to the um, same form factor that you choose previously, and so on. Um, Also, some very common mistake I see in first-time founders or someone who comes to medtech from different industries, that people are underestimating how long it takes to transition from working prototype, like from proof of concept, to something scalable, like to real product, to compliant product, to scalable product that you can like produce 1,000 times, that would be exactly the same, you know, would not fail, would not kill your user, ideally.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, here's the thing. So I don't know what Lisa's hourly rate is in terms of her consultancy and what she does, but she's giving me a lot of information. I want her to educate me about something. Design for manufacturing. What does that even mean? Like, I know what it means, but I've actually never implemented it because that's not my realm. So what do I do after that first phase? Like, what does that even mean? Honestly, what is design for manufacturing, and how do you can accomplish that?
So you have to figure out, first of all, how big is your batch? How many devices you have to produce? And at this stage, what we're trying to do is like to understand how to make products in a way that it would produce like a lot of the devices fast, and also how to make the form factor in a way that it would be possible to assemble the device. Because first prototypes you're doing by hands in your laboratory by yourself, right? So uh, you can be creative, and let's say you take 2 months to put together a proof of concept. but you cannot produce like, one device in 2 months. Y-
Sorry. Yeah, I'll cut it out. Yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I'm in a podcast. Sorry, my bad. No, yeah, I'm in a podcast. Yeah, I'll cut it out. Don't worry. I'll text you later. Sorry. It's okay. I'll cut it out. Sorry, go ahead, Lisa. Sorry, man. Sorry, buddy. Go
I
ahead.
can I,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can repeat because it was
Sorry,
not
buddy.
very smooth either.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. No, go for it. Go for it. But yeah, we were talking about oh, wait a second. Yeah, this is why I shouldn't be doing podcasts in a public area. Whatever. I can cut all this stuff out. Yeah, my friends are here, so sorry.
Let me try to
Yeah, so
answer again.
no, let me ask you a question again, so when my content team can cut it out, right? So Lisa, I would say like if I would come to you, right, with this product or whatever it is, DFM, I have no idea what it means. I have this cool product. Is it manufacturable? Is it cost friendly? Can I even get it to market? A lot of these products, what goes into it, actually what comes out, right, in terms of revenue for actually humanity, for healthcare systems and all these things. But obviously all these things with like insurance codes, CMS codes, all these things. I don't know if you go into those things, but I know they're very powerful because that's how you kind of start the regulatory strategy from the insurance side to actually how are you going to make money for a product, a catheter, an imaging system, an implant,
Mhm.
whatever it may be, right? So like, how do you kind of take care of those requirements?
So typically, it's not something that we explicitly take care of because our team doing just design for manufacturing. So we're like engineers. We're not like business developers, or we're not someone who can help with reimbursement codes that you mentioned, or even with an FDA. Like we have partners who can handle this. But you asked me what is design for manufacturing. So that's basically like, imagine you came to me, like you had some idea, you built a proof of concept, so prototype that shows that it's physically possible. It's ugly, but it's working somehow. So you would say like, okay, same idea, but nicer design, and I needed like, production quality. So design for manufacturing means designing a product in a way that makes it easy, makes it cost efficient, um, and like easy to produce, basically.
Right.
So about choosing right materials, to understand if materials are fitting each other, because sometimes like, so you cannot like glue one material to another in industrial quality. You have to simplify the assembly. So like, if you're working on your prototype, you can spend like up to 2 months putting everything together manually. But when you launch a production line, it should be done in, let's say, 20 minutes tops.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this like assembly process should be simplified. You should reduce waste in general, so the product can be made quickly, and also as low as lower cost as possible, as higher quality as possible in this situation.
Yes.
So in short, it's actually to ensure that design that you have in mind is just great on the paper, but it's also practical and it's also built to scale. Because
Yeah.
I also see this very often with startups when they like have this, nice renders done by design team, and then they have to figure out that it's not technically possible to produce in bigger
Yeah.
quantity.
Yeah. No, it's very, very good point. And yeah, I want you to tie this in, if possible, into like quality systems, right? And I know you guys follow certain types of quality systems. Like, what do you guys follow in terms of process validations and production and process controls within like ISO 1345 or 20 and CFR 820, and then maybe tie that into how that's transitioning into QMSR, right? Because it's a big hot topic, and I know for a fact that a lot of manufacturers, especially towards the end of the year, they're gonna start contacting me. Oh, we need this. We need to kind of transition. In February 2026 to QMSR, and then they'll do last minute. So they're selling, they're selling, they're selling. Guess what? You get and then someone knocks on your door, and then you go into a remediated value. So the point is that like you should not be doing this. This is why I don't like CAPAs, right? It should be the opposite, right? It should be pack up, prevent the cause before it happens, right? So how do you guys kind of incorporate those things to protect patients?
So we typically, once again, like we don't handle this part of the production
Yeah.
process. We cooperate with an expert in this industry. What I noticed, And it's especially after COVID, the standards are changing so fast, the requirements are changing so fast that you need a dedicated person to keep an eye on that and be updated. So I was saying, like, especially if you have AI-based device, which are like thousands of them now, the regulatory component of this entire process is like changing, I would say, bi-weekly. So
Yeah.
to be up to date, you first of all have to have this designated person in your team handling the entire process, and then they should check our work to see if we are compliant or not. And we are also keeping an eye on all these requirements. So we are working only with the certified partners. We have ICO certification, and we in a couple of projects like development, depending on this class of the product, um, we can set up a quality management system by ourselves, or we can take help from our partners.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, I know I made fun of you, I think last week, and you were telling me about how many projects you worked on. You said, 150 plus, or, I think I said that, and you said 160 plus. So I was like, oh, I was up by 10. Tolerance, right? Tolerancing is very important and in production and process control. So, like, tell me some about the cool products you worked on. Like, tell the audience, like, what are some of the intricacies that you've dealt with, and how have those people succeeded through your, I would say, your brilliance?
Um, oh, we had like really cool projects recently. It's a smart colonoscopy device, which was really exciting to work on. I love something related to robotics in general. Um, Even though my pure passion is about wearable devices. So, but this one was really fun as well. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, so I think to succeed, you have to first of all be a little bit familiar with how this device would be used in real life. Also, like accounting for all these extreme factors in the hospital, like the temperature, the humidity, um, how tired is the user who's using your device? Is it dark around, or it's like the opposite? It's extremely bright, so they cannot
mm,
see like some symbols on your display, and you have to make it brighter, and so on. Also, another thing I see very often in projects who succeeded, if we're talking about medical equipment and something to be used in operational room, for example, that from I would not say from day zero, but from the very early moments in the development, they were trying to get feedback from nurses and literally all the staff who might be using this device to understand if the design of the interface is actually clear, if they understand where to click, because you usually don't have too much time to train the stuff. Realistically, from what I've seen, it's happening only, like during 15-minute lunch break or something like that. And that's a short period of time when you have to explain what is this product about and how it should be used. And
yeah,
sometimes in some hospitals, um, the shift that works over the weekend is not the same that works from Monday to Friday. So you have to adjust it. So literally it should be like so clear that even baby would understand where to press in case of
yes,
emergency.
yes,
Um,
yes,
and nurses also they can listen to your training, but they're so overwhelmed. They have like so many things to do that they can like easily forget if there's
yeah,
this 12 steps to launch
yeah,
something. Uh, Pretty hectic. Another thing to consider is that you have to be sure that this device that you design is integrated into the existing workflow that is in the hospital. So there's like a certain pathway of the patient. And once you integrate something new into this pathway, you have to be sure that it's like very easy to transition from what they used before to what they use now. Mm,
yeah,
what
mm,
else can I say? Like, in general, it's a good practice not only for medical devices but in general, like make the hardware, idiot proof. So if someone
Yeah.
can break it, they probably will. So if someone can make something
Uh,
wrong with it, they
Lisa, I'm
probably
sorry to interrupt you. I know a lot of idiots. Can I introduce them to you?
for testing purposes, like for science. No, but like just use the logic, thinking like, okay,
You're watching one of
to
them. I'm one of those people.
to could you give it to your baby or something? Like, for example, if
Yeah.
the device, like, produces hot air, can someone burn their finger if they stick it inside? Even though it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
designed for this. Like,
Right.
still, all
Right.
the
Right.
things. And also, it's important to have the devices built for durability because they often got dropped. They are like improperly stored. So this is also like critical factor because once again, what I see when people from non-medtech background come into medtech space, they're trying to make it like really beautiful, but no one cares about beauty in space. From what I've seen, it's nice. It's like
Yeah.
good looking,
Yeah.
but it should be practical. So like it's usually
Mm.
if you have like just huge green button that says on, it's better than some futuristic design.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, like simplicity is bliss, right? I think, and going back to one of your comments, it's 7 years, right? 7 years for a device. I think that's actually pretty long, right? And actually, it fluctuates based on what the due diligence is for regulatory strategy. So why it takes two, three, X amount of years more or X amount of years less is contingent upon how you strategize with a specific regulatory agency, right? And
Yeah.
obviously, we're more focused on the American market, but what is your, I would say, sense of other uh, economical values from different countries, and like how do they come to you, and how do you kind of collaborate with certain people around the world? What does that kind of collaboration consist of?
We have a global team ourselves. As I mentioned, we have a team that is located in Ukraine, but we work for US market because over years we gained enough experience to build products for US market. So, but what you said about regulatory strategies, absolutely correct. So, very important for international teams to understand which market they go after because all these regulations for medical devices, they're very similar from country to country, but still slightly different. So you have to consider like either you go to Europe with CE or you go to US market with FDA requirements, and you should understand them early, ideally as a founder. Like it's not a good practice to treat a compliance as an afterthought, because once again, like trying to adjust to what you've already built is a nightmare. And also, it's very important from the very beginning to understand which regulatory pathway will get you to market faster, because that's ideally what you want. You don't want to spend 7 years. It can be like 510K, de novo, PMA, you choose. And once you choose, like you should keep the strategy ideally.
Yeah.
Another thing is like to document everything, right? So because proper traceability can save afterwards like a lot of money in audits, a lot of money in redesigns, builds a risk management file also from day one
Right.
because like it's something that's demanded. It cannot be like just neglected. But
Yeah.
I would not say that regulatory is like a barrier, you know. I think it's in a way competitive advantage if you do it right,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because you just have to prove that what you're building is safe. Basically, it
Right.
is what it is.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Well, safety first, and then efficacy second, right? Well, they go hand in hand, but you want to keep the people safe, and then as long as they're safe, the effectiveness should come. But I would say like safety is first. You don't want to hurt people with the wrong solutions, right? And within your company, talk about your team. Like how you scaled from the beginning to now, and how big is your team? Who are they? What do they do for you in terms of like the structure of how you kind of organize this as the founder and someone who's really leading the show?
so we have four co-founders,
Wow,
and we
I didn't
started
know
as a
that.
startup, but then slowly transitioned into external engineering team. We have only C-level specialists in our team because we are working really complex projects, and we just chose this strategy for us. Something that we're really proud of is that most of people are staying with us for a long time. So
Yeah.
some people are working with us for like 8 years, and like some for 10 years, like starting with the startup we had before. Most of them are mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, so people who are directly involved into development of the product with some niche expertise in orthopedic space, in wearable device space, and in medical equipment that goes into operational room.
Mm,
So
mm,
they
yeah.
are pretty aware of what it takes to build a medical device. They are pretty aware of all the aspects. So I think at this point now, nothing can caught us by surprise. Hopefully, I mean, not that I can think of. And our focus is mostly class one, class two medical devices. But we can do like class three medical devices as well. So we have a clean room, and we can work on something like implant or whatever. Sometimes we do wellness devices, which are like not even a medical device.
Yeah.
But yeah, just let's say 70% of the projects are class one, class two medical devices.
Great, great. That's yeah, sometimes a big market. Obviously, class two is, I would say, with 70% of all submissions are 510Ks or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers, but the majority of them are 510Ks class two.
Yeah.
And in that regard, talk about general wellness. I know you focus on general wellness products too. Like, what is your sense of that guidance of the FDA, and like, how is that different from a regulated product versus a non-regulated product?
It's way easier for all the
Yeah,
aspects.
yeah,
Like
right,
that
right.
that's it. Um Also, if you consider like the strategy of going to market is also way easier and simpler. You just basically try to figure out how to sell it B2C, right?
Yeah,
While
right.
for medical devices, you should also consider which reimbursement code would be applied in your specific case, how you would cooperate with the hospital, with the DME provider. So,
Yeah, yeah. The general wellness guidance is very powerful. I've worked with clients in the past, and I think a lot of it, and maybe you comment on it as well, is labeling, right? How you label the product, right? So the one example I love to use is like a scalpel, right? A scalpel, for your knees for orthopedic surgery, or a scalpel for your eye for ophthalmic surgeries. Two different applications, possibly the same product, but two different labels, right? One is for X, one is for
yeah.
Y. But a lot of doctors like to use off labeling too, and that's not in the purview of the manufacturer. If you want to use a device for something else, the liability is on you. But the way you label something on your intended use, or your IFU as they call it, right? As you know, in the 510K, that is actually the trickle down in terms of once you have those one sentence, five sentences, 10 sentences, whatever it is, that'll tell you all the requirements you need because you should be set in stone within that intended use statement. And that will, I would say, dictate the rest of your journey to market, as long as you don't modify that in a way that's going to really contradict any requirements. Is that correct?
My favorite example for this topic is like you probably have a bathroom scale, so that you can like buy anywhere, and
Yeah,
pretty much the same scale can be used to measure a baby after they're born. So one is a
yeah,
medical device and the other is not.
right.
Same product.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah. Same difference, right? Same difference, same difference. And it's like the labeling
yeah,
matters. And I think a lot of my clients that come to me and that the labeling is like they promote it too much as a medical device. Well, if that's what you want you to do, do it. But guess what? The difference between a general wellness product and a class one is a humongous difference. It's called a QMS, right? So you don't need a QMS for general wellness. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think so. But you
yeah,
do need a simple QMS for a class one. Very basic stuff, and
yeah.
that is the difference between actually obviously registration, all these things and product listings, but whatnot. But you don't need to do those things for general wellness. So in my opinion, general wellness is a humongous market, especially with wearables, right? I bought my mom a Fitbit not too long ago, actually very long ago. And then I bought her multiple Fitbits because they got older. She doesn't like technology, so she likes simplicity, right? She's like, I don't want too many buttons. And I was like, Mom, I can teach you because I don't want to be tall. I just want three buttons. I wanted to count my steps, my heart rate. Am I sleeping okay? Very simple stuff. But this is the thing. Like the older generations, my mom, my dad, they love these technologies, but they want to be simple as possible because even for them, sometimes connecting to Bluetooth is a problem, as me and you have too, right? Connection is a very difficult thing in any regard, especially for older generations who don't really rely on technology. But if you can mimic what they're doing, for example, my dad, he loves his iPhone now. He loves WhatsApp. He knows how to send memes now. I was like, Dad, you know what a meme is? He's like, yes. I know what a meme is, son. I was like, all right, I'm sorry. But my point is that, like, this is how, kids teach their parents what to do. And then, I'll teach my eventual kids what to do as well in that regard, right? So the point is that, like, I would say generational values can be cascaded in a way where everything's connected, and health is that connection, right? And I love to talk about those things, and in that regard, tell me some of your experiences, right? Some of these people that come to you, and when I say people, I say founders, right? Tell me the worst story or a good example and the best example, and like say like what is the difference between the two, and saying why you should not do this, but you should do this.
I have the worst example, but it probably
I
would
gotta,
be
I
like,
gotta, I gotta, I gotta, I gotta take my headphones off.
yeah,
Uh,
probably that might be a little bit surprising. So we had not a startup, but that corporate client, and they had an idea of an innovative device, but unfortunately, this device never seen a market because for a year and a half while we were working together, um, they were too focused on the documentation. And it comes from me when I'm like saying that documentation is important, document everything is the key. But when you're building something like innovative, you have to have a room for experiments. And we ended up like having probably spending 80% of our time putting together documentation, which was not even necessary at this point because it was like just too early to describe everything. We wanted to make some experiments first and understand how, like, what actually works or not, because it took us almost 1 year to build a proof of concept,
wow.
which is like very long for us.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes
Yeah,
we
it's
build
very
a
long
proof
for
of
anyone.
concept
I
like,
think. I think it's a long for anyone.
yeah, yeah. And it was like because of all this like endless bureaucracy, and they realized while working with them that is was a typical process for their corporation because they're huge. What is good about the startup, for example, is that they can make a decision fast. And this is like where we are actually telling them, no, 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 we have to spend some time documenting this because we would use it like later. But all the changes are coming fast, and all the approval process, like is faster than in a corporate world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think a lot about corporations right now. I like using Apple. Everything I use is Apple. I love the iPhone. Everything's integrated very simply. And I told you I lost my earpods, so I had to get new ones. The connection's off, so everything's integrated with an Apple ecosystem, right? But their integration values over time is very, I would say, they don't do a lot of innovation because they control the market. They control the ecosystem. They have the ecosystem, right? But obviously that's a multi-trillion-dollar company. But as a startup, you move a lot faster because you can iterate quicker, right? With Lisa's help, saying, "Hey, well, Lisa will say, I don't think this requirement is good enough. Maybe we need a better tolerance, or maybe we need X, Y, Z things." And like that is where you come in, saying, right? And this is what I don't know because like all these like ideas need to come to a point where how do we actually make this a reality, right? Whether it's hardware, whether it's software. I know you're hardware focused, but still the same values still are embedded within both areas, right? Whether it's SIMD, SAMD, or just total hardware, right? Everything is kind of design controls, risk based, and I think that's the foundation that I want to teach my team to because, like, I know you've spoken to a lot of them as well, and it's one of these things where those foundations is what you need to keep going back to. ISO 14971, ISO 1345, all these guidances, yes, they're there, but the point is that look at the standards, look at the regulations. The guidances are, you can interpret them whatever you want to, right? the general control guidance, for example, the claims you make about like mental acuity and all these things, like that is they're very powerful. Many people don't know about these things. They think that as soon as you make a claim, you're a medical device. That's not true, right? There's so many things you can buy off Amazon, and Amazon does not know FDA either. By the way, they just think that the way they do it is that they look at the labeling and they say that you're labeling wrongly, which is they're not wrong, but the point is that the risk is not there. It's just the labeling. So you fix the labeling, you understand what it actually takes to get to market, right? So one of those aspects is that you have to understand, I would say, what intended use again is that risk going to entail, and how do you accomplish that through your user manual, your website, your marketing, whatever it is, right? Because everything is connected. So I analyze all these things for my clients because they come to me, they're saying, "Oh, we want to change the label." And let me see your website. Let me see your XYZ marketing materials. How are you promoting this? Well, that's why you're a class one. That's why you're a class two. But you can actually make that in general wellness if you stop seeing those claims. And since it's not rocket science, it's very easy to do that with a couple of changes saying, hey, column A, this is our current labeling. Column B is our new labeling. That's it. And this is what I'm going to do. I don't tell my clients, do not hide from the FDA. There's no point. The point is I just tell them what you're doing, do it very quickly, and get the response from them, which is why I like pre-submissions. But you can also do letters through DICE, right? Division of Industry and Consumer Education. They respond very quickly too. They respond promptly, but I would say it's very informal where you can really leverage that. But the pre-sub process, I would say, is more valuable to get the information that you need because you get a Q number, right? It's like getting a K number for a 510K, and then you can leverage that too. So the way I like to really play this type of situation is leverage, right? What have you spoken with the agency? How can you utilize that information? How can you kind of turn that into maybe raising a seed fund, maybe raising a pre-seed fund, maybe raising something, right? The point is
Yeah.
that you have to have some traction with the agency or any regulatory authority. But obviously, when you have the FDA on your side, that is a big tech market, biggest med tech market, I would say. So I kind of go that route. And from your sense, what do you think about that process? And like that person you told me about, or that client, you said that they made a mistake. What would you do for that client, or if you were in that person's shoes? How would you kind of flip the script and say, how do I actually work with Lisa to actually get to the market? What could you change about that project?
So probably this case was specific, like, so that's why I recalled it right away. I would better say that some general tendency that I see in startups, uh, startup clients, not corporate clients, is that they are, as you mentioned yourself, they're underestimating the cost of quality control. They're underestimating the cost of regulatory testing because usually you should allocate some decent budget for that. Another thing that is like also coming from probably like lack of experience, and that's why it's helpful to work with the companies who have experience in the field, like ourselves, is that supply chain risks is like another thing that is typically ignored.
Mm.
So when we work with supply chain setup, we're trying to have at least three reliable companies, subcontractors, to produce with. So just in case, if something will go off with someone, then we can replace them. And I think it's like really critical not to rely on just one, because global shortages can kill production timeline, and you'll be like really unhappy because it's like expensive. You have to pay salary for your team. You have to do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, another thing that, like, as I mentioned before, overcomplicating the design. This is another common mistake, because not only it's more complex to use, which I already highlighted before, because typically medical devices are used in messy environment, but also every extra part, every like new tiny thing, it's like increase potential failure points and also costs to produce the device. So there's like really no need into all these like features in once. Um, so
Yeah. Yeah. The constraints, right? The constraints of the design is
also
very, yeah.
Also, yeah, I just recall we had another case study with the startup. So they were trying to, one of the founders had an architecture background, and she was always trying to choose all this, exotic materials or some exotic manufacturing process
Yeah,
that they don't scale. So
yeah,
we were trying to actually convince that for business purpose, like you don't want to have like a beautiful device that no one will
yeah,
use, or the beautiful device that you cannot produce in general. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
want to be actually really focused
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
on
Apple
what
can
is
sell sexy, but medtech companies cannot sell sexy, right? That's the difference. And the thing is that yes, you can do it, but like achieve the basic functions first, and then make it sexy, if you
correct.
can.
Uh,
So
For
don't
this, you
don't
always
don't
have,
don't, don't
version
accelerate
two. Yeah.
with that. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So what I was saying, like you always have a version two. If you see your device working and then you say like, oh, but I want to redesign to make it more beautiful, do it in the next version. Just like
Yes.
put one on the market. It's way more
Yeah.
efficient because once again, 7 years to go to
Right.
market.
Right.
That's a lot.
Right. Right. Right, right. And, I know your friend Alex can probably comment to this, like alpha and beta, right, for software. Same thing, just have the first version out. Let people like Lisa, understand what the value is of a certain platform. What does it mean to her? What does it mean to Alex? What does it mean to XYZ people, right? How can you play around with these things and give us the requirements that I need to actually optimize it? Because that's the whole point of, doing that first version. So you get a sense of how to get to market, right? So in that regard, like you have to understand, I would say, what people want, right? You keep talking about simplicity, and I want to keep touching upon that. Simplicity is bliss. If I give my mom a wearable that's better than Fitbit, she wants 3 buttons, right? 3 buttons. She doesn't want anything complicated. She doesn't like complications. She doesn't want to learn technology that much, but she's okay with what she has. But you can also make that better with what she has by giving the same amount of buttons, but improving the whatever the hardware, the software, whatever it may be, to give her the metrics that she wants. So, what do patients want, right? So, I'm curious. So, like, let's talk about. I'm gonna put you in a situation. I go to Doctor V, right? Doctor Evanko. So you are a physician, and you have some pain points, and whatever categories. How do your clients, or how do you focus on like physicians and users, patients, nurses, technicians, doctors, whatever, whoever's using the product, COVID tests, patient focused, obviously, home kits. So how do those requirements actually give you a sense of what to do in a manufacturing sense?
So typically it's something that is handled from the client side. So
Yeah,
they are the one who are doing the
yeah,
sort of research. But if I were a client and if I were doing this, I would first try to understand who would pay for my device. So if that is like something like, because once again, what I see really often is that people doing medical, they're trying to focus on the patient, who's the user, but not the customer, like either insurance company or hospital itself, depending on the case. So in this case, like you should first understand their needs, and then if they would be like really happy that with your device you're gonna save them tons of money, then really patients' needs are secondary. I can't believe I said it out loud, but it is what it is.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah. And I guess I want you to give a take-home message to the audience, and like what I really want to focus on is, I would say, like the young entrepreneurs. But they don't have to be biomedical engineers. I would say most of my colleagues are, but there are a lot of people who are econ majors, who are architect majors, like you said, like that person that it doesn't matter what degree you have, right? You have an idea, you have a problem solving a solution, and you want to kind of get to market. So what advice would you give them to get on the right path so you don't waste that 1 year of POC, like proof of concept with Lisa? How do you use Lisa's services in a way where she can optimize your idea by giving her the right requirements? What would you tell that person or people?
I would say, first of all, let's figure out why we're here and why we're doing what we're doing. So, what's the goal and what's the purpose of all this? Because very often people are getting blinded by a nice technology that they have in mind, and they don't quite understand the business model behind it. So, I would rather focus on business components understand why someone would use this device. And I know that it's like so ordinary what I'm saying, but still not everyone is doing this. So like a lot of people know that they should understand the go-to-market strategy, but not all of them are doing this after all. And this is probably the most critical thing to understand. Why would you waste or dedicate next years of your life to be a med tech startup founder? So my advice would be just to understand the value first, and to understand who would benefit from using your device and why they cannot keep using what they are using. How big would be the improvement? Do you see that
Right.
they would improve, like really what they're doing, or like if it would improve for just a little bit, maybe it doesn't worth the hustle.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely great advice, and I agree with you 110%. And it's one of these things where prevention is better than cure, right? Same thing with strategy, right? Prevention, prevent yourself from failing, right?
Yeah,
Talk to the right people, talk to Lisa, get the right requirements. Don't go forward so fast where you're going backwards, right? So get yourself in place, iterate in the right sense, and then move forward. So I guess I'll cap it off at that. And if you have any last words, please say it, Lisa. And then I appreciate your time. Amazing talking to you, and I love what you are doing, and I appreciate you introducing me to a lot of people. But if you have any other words, please, the stage is yours.
I'm really excited to see how many founders are really passionate about their ideas. As I started our conversation today, I should say that it's something that inspires me and gives me meaning in life, because I see how people are capable of bringing their idea to life. Because what we are doing, we are just like constructing their idea. The rest of job is done by them. And probably the hardest part of making a medical device is not physically making one, but actually bringing this device to the market, bringing this device to the users, seeing people using it. But once it's done, it's so amazing. Like to go to hospital and see
Yeah,
it used, all over. Even if it's
yeah,
like something simple as, I don't know, hand sanitizer. We had this project and it was like amazing. It's like all over the place now. But it's just like a simple product, however, significant improvement to the previous process. So it doesn't
yeah,
have to
yeah,
always be like super complex innovation, super complex technology. It can be something like really, really simple but smart that would
yeah,
improve patients' outcomes.
yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that statement, and I thank you for your time. I thank you for your friendship, and we'll keep connecting. And God bless you.
Thank you so much for having me here today.